The sunshine state of India, Goa, is known for its great hospitality, beautiful beaches, and also its ever-changing politics. MLAs of the sunny state are known for changing their loyalties often, and today 8 out of 11 Congress MLAs jumped ship to join the ruling BJP. With this, the Pramod Sawant government in Goa now has 33 out of 40 seats in the assembly. What's striking, though, is the timing. At a time when the Congress party is engaged in a Bharat Jodo Yatra, the party in Goa is in Congress Chodo mode. Also, because 8 of 11 MLAs have switched sides, the anti-defection law will not apply in this case. Now, it's no secret that Congress has long struggled to keep its flock together in Goa. It was last in power in the state from 2007 to 2012, after which the BJP under the late Manohar Parrikar took charge in Goa. In 2017, the Congress with 17 seats out of 40 was the single largest party, but could not form the government, and the BJP with 11 seats came back to power with the help of other smaller parties. In 2019, 10 of 15 Congress MLAs jumped ship to the BJP, and by January this year, the party was reduced to just 2 seats. Now, before the assembly elections this year in Feb, the Congress actually took all its candidates to various religious places and made them swear they would not defect. Well, today, their senior-most leader, former Chief Minister Digambar Kamath, heard a different message from God. Listen in.
Gone back to the temple. I have asked the God and the goddess that this is in my mind, what I should do. We have a system of taking prasads. Then God said, you go ahead, don't worry. Ghulam Nabi Azad, who had served the party for more than 50 years, right from Srimati Indira Gandhi ji. Read his 5-page letter, and then you will not ask that question to me.
इस तरह से उनका लीडर भारत जोड़ो आंदोलन में लगे हुए हैं और उसी वक्त और यहाँ से लोग कांग्रेस छोड़ रहे हैं, तो उनको खुद पता होना चाहिए कि कांग्रेस छोड़ के लोग जा रहे हैं, तो कांग्रेस छोड़ो आंदोलन के गोवा से स्टार्ट हो चुकी है, इसीलिए दे हैड फ्रस्ट्रेटेड। हम 10 साल से देख रहे हैं कि उन्हीं के नेतृत्व में कांग्रेस के कितनी बड़ी हानि हो रही है, वो पूरे हम देख रहे हैं। एक पार्टी जब 300-350 एमपी थे, आज 40 नंबर पे पहुंचे हैं। डेफिनेटली इसीलिए तो उनके नेतृत्व का करिश्मा तो पूरा देश देख रहा है।
वो आज इस प्रकार की कदम उठा रहे हैं गोवा में, या कोशिश भी कर रहे होंगे कहीं और की, क्योंकि आज उनको लोगों का ध्यान भटकाना है। ध्यान भटकाना अगर किसी से सीखना है तो भाजपा से सीखे, लेकिन लोग आज समझ चुके हैं कि भारत जोड़ो यात्रा जिसमें हम संविधान को बचाना चाहते हैं, भारत की लोकतंत्र की नीतियों को बचाना चाहते हैं, आज भाजपा जिस प्रकार से काम कर रही है, इसका विरोध आज लोग करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि इन्होंने सत्ता में रहकर लोगों का भला नहीं किया, सिर्फ खुद का भला उन्होंने किया है।
ये लोग जो हैं ऑपरेशन लोटस हर स्टेट के लिए चला रहे हैं, हर राज्य के अंदर जा जाके एमएलए खरीद रहे हैं। जाहिर तौर पे फ्री में तो एमएलए खरीद नहीं रहे, किसी को सीबीआई ईडी का डर दिखाते हैं, और साथ में जैसे अभी हमें पता चला कल कि पंजाब के अंदर भी इन्होंने कोशिश की 25-25 करोड़ रुपए में एमएलए खरीदने की। गोवा के अंदर कितने कितने में खरीदे हैं ये तो वहां के एमएलए ही बता सकते हैं, या वहां के लोग ही बता सकते हैं कि कितने कितने में खरीदे।
You know, the interesting thing about Aam Aadmi Party is they've also gotten into the fray where Raghav Chadha, Aam Aadmi Party leader, tweeted on this, saying when you vote for a Congress MLA, you're basically voting a future BJP MLA, and Congress is resting in pieces. Now, we have to also remember that at the heart of all of these changes and this major defection today are leaders who are masters of political musical chairs. Let me just talk about 2 leaders. Digambar Kamath first. He first contested as a Congress candidate in 1989. He then switched to the BJP in 1994. In 2005, he rebelled against Manohar Parrikar and moved to the Congress. 17 years later, he has heard the voice of the Almighty, as he claims, and has come back to the BJP. Another key leader, Michael Lobo, another very important figure in what has happened today. He joined the BJP in 2007 and after 15 years joined the Congress. However, just 8 months later, he is back in the BJP fold. Now, the obvious question here is, why can't Congress keep its flock together? But we also have to ask why the BJP seems to be acquiring MLAs in so many opposition states. Is Operation Lotus now the default mode? And is it not, at a very basic level, a fraud on voters if MLAs fight elections with one party and then switch when convenient? To speak on some of these issues, I'm joined today by Giriraj Pai Varenkar, a spokesperson of the BJP in Goa. Sanjay Jha, author, is joining us today on the show. Anshul Avijit, spokesperson from the Congress, is with us. And I'm also speaking with Amit Palekar, the Aam Aadmi Party Goa president. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today on Beyond the Headline. Mr. Giriraj, why are you so interested in accumulating MLAs at this breakneck speed? What exactly has happened in Goa?
I think as far as Goa is concerned, the first thing we must remember is that in the recently concluded elections in 2022 itself, we got an absolute mandate to run the government. And what is happening today with the Congress, I mean, it is not new. If you see the way the Congress party has been behaving, I mean, they are marching on a Bharat Jodo Abhiyan. But if you see, I think the MLAs are getting inspired and instead joining the only party which is a unifier, which is the BJP. And I think more than the BJP getting people into its fold, I think we must ask the Congress as to why everybody is leaving the fold. And then not everybody is going to the BJP. I mean, you look at...
One minute. Girirajji, 1 minute. I will ask the Congress why everybody is leaving their fold. Allow me to ask. Anshulji is there waiting. I will ask him the question. That's not what I asked you. I'm asking you, you have 20. You had more than enough to form the government. You're comfortable. Why do you need these 8? Why is the BJP, as the most powerful political party, encouraging these defections? Don't you think it's a fraud on the voters? If the voters have, one minute, sir. If the voters have cast their votes for these specific MLAs on a certain ticket, and then few months later, they switch sides, why are you encouraging this? You don't even need them to form your government.
See, that is exactly what I'm trying to say, that when we don't need them, there is no reason to say that we are encouraging defections. A group of 8...
Why are you taking them?
See, as a party in the ruling, I mean, if we can strengthen the government, I think there is no reason why we should deny. If you ask me, I personally believe that this is where it was our mandate that, when they are unhappy with the party, they realize that they can't take Goa forward, staying in the Congress. And have you seen the way Congress is functioning in Goa right now? I mean, their president joined the party just few days before the elections. And the way that is going, so when the group of 8 reached out to us, we said that, there is no harm in strengthening the government. But let me reiterate that we did not need any numbers. So it was not that we have engineered these defections. But if people are leaving the Congress and if it can strengthen our cause and, strengthen our battle in 2024 to 2024, I think they are more than welcome.
Okay, so anybody is welcome. Anybody is welcome. Says the BJP spokesperson Anshul.
No,
Avijit.
Anybody will not be a correct statement. I mean, if you remember, just some time back, Honorable CM has made a statement that Vijay Sardesai of Goa Forward also wanted to merge with the BJP, but he was categorically denied. We did not.
Why you didn't take Mr. Vijay Sardesai, and why you've taken Mr. Digambar Kamath and Mr. Lobo and others?
Digambar Kamath, if you see out of them, I mean, whether it is Michael Lobo or his wife or Digambar Kamath himself, or for that matter, Kedar Naik, they were in the BJP not too long time ago. So if at all, they have come back to where they belong in many ways.
Digambar Kamath has come after 17 years, sir. Not long time ago. Anyway, Anshul, today you have to answer the question, and I'm just going to play those pictures. On the one hand, you have Rahul Gandhi leading the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I mean, you cannot deny the irony of what is happening right now. Rahul Gandhi is leading a Bharat Jodo Yatra. On the other hand, you have MLAs who say that we want to go on a Congress Chodo Abhiyan. What is going on, Anshul? Don't you think it's more important to keep your party together? And that's what you should be focusing on.
Tamana, this is a very sad and unfortunate day, not just for the Congress, but for Indian democracy on the whole. And otherwise, I'll be quite amused at Mr. Kamat's very enviable conversation with God, which prompted him to change, track. All of us are not so fortunate. But what it shows is this kind of corruption, this kind of ethical corruption that is going on, where there is no ideological fidelity, where in the morning you're critiquing someone, and in the evening you start criticizing that person. So there's a change of heart from morning till evening. This complete ideological fickleness that is so very, very worrying in our democracy that we see today. That's the first point. And the second point is that the BJP has completely turned the space of politics into a marketplace. They've completely commercialized this space. In fact, the commercialization of politics is complete now, as what we've seen today by this kind of exodus that we've seen. It's so tragic for our democracy. Forget the Congress. I know, people might be shedding a tear for the Congress. The Congress might be disappointed. It's not a thrilling moment for us. We have to continue to do what we are doing, which is the Bharat Jodo Yatra. This is,
One minute. I've spoken to the BJP spokesperson about why they are, gathering on such an acquisition spree of MLAs. He's saying we didn't need them, now they're coming, so we said, okay, come. Putting it very simply. But you have to ask yourself that if the commercialization of Indian politics is complete, if there is no ideological moorings, why does most of the defection seem to happen in the Congress? Why are you bleeding leaders at such a frenetic pace? Why are some of your top leaders heading to the exit door? And shouldn't be your focus as a political party an attempt to stem this bleed? Shouldn't that be your number one priority? Anshul, that's a serious question you must answer today.
No, I'm not shy of answering any question at all. What the question that should be answered or really asked is how far the BJP will stoop to conquer in our democracy. How far will the BJP go to subvert the principles of our democracy? People are leaving the Congress. Yeah, some of them are leaving the Congress. It's a 135-year-old party. I'm not suggesting that there are no challenges before the Congress. I never said that. There are challenges. We are there are internal organizational issues that are being tackled. There are elections going on. There is a Bharat Jodo Yatra which is going on. And for the BJP is completely flustered and out of its depths because they don't know how to counter that. The kind of unprecedented response to our campaign to unite India, because the BJP is attempting.
Sir, what about Congress Jodo? Anshulji, what about Congress Jodo? I'm asking you that question again. Shouldn't you focus on Congress Jodo and then, of course, Bharat Jodo?
Jodo is the ideology of the Congress party for which we are steadfast. There is ideological fickleness which some people possess, and they keep changing sides, keep changing tack. There is a misalignment with their ambitions, which with the Congress party cannot help. We are consistent, we are ideologically consistent, and we are fighting this very, very tough ideological battle against a party which is completely morally corrupt. Right, so you're
Giriraj, they are accusing you of being morally corrupt. In fact, Jairam Ramesh has said that this is Operation Kichad. They are saying that this is moral corruption. What do you say to that?
If at all, if this is something, this is Congress's intellectual bankruptcy. When Sachin Pilot had a flag of revolt, he did not join the BJP. Kapil Sibal did not join the BJP. Ghulam Nabi Azad did not join the BJP. Until Congress starts, doesn't realize that the problem is with the party, and blaming BJP is not going to solve all their problems. And today, Anshulji is speaking about morals and defections. Please ask him to study Congress's history in Goa. The first time the Congress formed government ever in Goa was by breaking the MGP. Even in 2005, the same Digambar Kamath, when he left the BJP, did they not accept him and make him a minister? They made him a chief minister in 2007. So what is he talking about? If people jumping from one party to another is not something that has never happened in Goa. And if anybody has supported it till today, then it is the Congress. And today suddenly he talks about ideology. And if all problems are because of the BJP or Mission Lotus, then why is the person like Kapil Sibal not with them? Should we not be talking about that as well?
I want to introduce in this, Sanjay Jha is waiting patiently. Sanjay, thanks for your patience, but I want to introduce in this the Aam Aadmi Party and Mr. Amit Palekar. The Aam Aadmi Party right now has 2 seats in Goa, but they have somehow inserted themselves in this debate as well. And I say that because of their comments saying that, look, Operation Lotus is not working in Delhi, is not working in Punjab, but it's working in Goa. Mr. Palekar, it seems right now the Aam Aadmi Party is targeting the Congress more than the BJP everywhere. Even in Gujarat, you are saying that the Congress is finished.
See, I think that's a narrative which you want to build. But as far as Goa is concerned and Indian politics is concerned, we want to be very clear. Right before this Goa elections, we were very clear to state that vote for Congress is vote for BJP. Now, of course, Goa has actually written an encyclopedia of defections, and most of the pages in that encyclopedia is written by BJP in Goa with the help of Congress. Now, whole of Goa probably knew a few weeks back that these MLAs are going to defect to BJP. Now, it's unfortunate for Goans because I think bad name comes to Goa and Goans. And I think way the Congress has functioned, in fact, one of their top leaders, when he left the party a few days back, he says that the person has no political acumen or political mind. So somebody's failure, somebody's gain, somebody's price tag, and there's always someone to purchase the commodity of Congress MLAs that is available for purchase with a price tag, and that's what BJP is doing. So it is not about destruction of Congress, it's destruction of ethics, destruction of democratic process. And
no, Mr. Palekar, the reason I ask this because today, you know, the Aam Aadmi Party is also taking a jibe. आप भी मजे ले रहे हो, आप कह रहे हो कि, you know, our MLAs are not defecting. It's the Congress MLAs that defect. Look at what Raghav Chadha has tweeted. He's saying that Congress is resting in pieces. If you vote for Congress MLA, you're voting for a future BJP MLA. You have also been at the receiving end of these attempts as per you.
Where is the party wrong in that? Where has Aam Aadmi Party made a wrong statement? It's based on the fact where you look at the defections that Congress is doing. You kind of jumping around that Congress has been doing for so long. So who is to be blamed here? Is it the Aam Aadmi Party who is trying to give a very honest politician for the country?
So this 8 out of 11 defecting, Mr. Palekar, is Congress to be blamed for this or the BJP?
Both of them. Both of them is A and B team. They play for each other. There is no doubt about it. And that's what happens in Goa. You look at the MLAs with BJP in Goa and you see who are there. Who is there in BJP today. You ask them where they belong at one point of time and where they are today. They must have forgotten where they've come from or where they go. They keep jumping.
You're stealing a line. We call AAP the B team.
No.
AAP is the 12th man in Goa.
Which one is AAP, which one is AT, which one is B team? I'm going to ask Mr. Palekar in a bit to rank who is more wrong. 1 minute, Sanjay Jha. So when they say that defections in Goa politics is par for the course, they're not wrong. It's a state which has seen defections time and again between parties, and you know, it's Congress, BJP, the two major parties. Why that? The regional parties also keep switching sides. So it's par for the course. Congress has gone down to 2 MLAs, come back to 11, now back to 3. So that has happened. But in this case, do you think it's fair to say that the Congress was once again caught napping, asleep at the wheel, that their focus was just not on what's happening in Goa?
A couple of very valid questions you have raised, Tamanna. There is no denying, and it needs to be said upfront, that the Congress needs to recognize that you're up against a very deadly political force in the BJP, which has a brutal, ruthless approach to the Sam Dam Dand Bhed politics. And once you know it, then you don't have the luxury of complaining again. You need to be doubly prepared to ensure that these leakages don't happen. It's not a secret the Congress has paid a huge price since 2014. So when you say that it's caught napping, frankly, I think in my opinion, is hardly a secret that a couple of months ago, Dinesh Gundu Rao, who happens to be, I think, in charge of Goa, openly said that Gabbar Kamath and Lobo were trying to destabilize the government. And, you know, if you listen to the statements of Kamath and Lobo today, I mean, these guys are the ultimate, you know, wild turncoats of Indian politics. The first thing they did was to run down Bharat Joro. You see, the BJP is very, shall we say, clear and professional as a political organization. They're like, hey, you come to me, you rubbish Rahul Gandhi, rubbish Congress, make nasty statements against Bharat Joro, and therefore the narrative is now going to be Congress Joro before you do Bharat Joro. So for the Congress, this is acutely embarrassing. But you know, the question that you raised, Tamanna, is what we should debate on this program. Does anybody care for the voter? Now, I'm forgetting the name of the surname of Mr. Giriraj. But Mr. Giriraj, you're from Goa, and I want to ask you this question as a Goan, as a citizen of this country. The 8 MLAs that got elected in the Goa Assembly, the voters of Goa voted for them against you. They wanted them to be with the Congress. And you have hijacked them now. I mean, you know, is this a kind of, shall we say, respect you have for the voter? And you really think anybody's going to fall for your absolute...
Mr. Varnekar, Mr. Giriraj Bhai Varnekar, you want to respond to that? You want to respond to that? At least think of the voters. And here it's very clear. It's Congress, BJP, two different points of view that your parties stand for. So those who are voting for the Congress MLA are clearly voting for them because it's a vote against you. Those are the people you've taken on board. Isn't it a theft of those votes in a way?
See, as far as BJP in Goa is concerned, in 2022 elections, the sole agenda of the Congress was to say that BJP has conducted defections in 2019 and that the party should be rejected. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, BJP was voted because we went to the people and said that whatever people we had to, take within the party, we did it because we wanted to stabilize the government. And, if you look at the voting also in Goa, it's always tactical. I mean, a lot of these people, for best example is Kedar. He left the party because he did not get the ticket. So all I'm trying to say is whenever we have gone to the people and explained what was the reason why such defections have happened, they've accepted. And 2022 is the best example where we got...
No, how do you know the people have... No, it's post facto, right? I don't understand this argument because it's post facto. Have you gone to the voters of Mr. Digambar Kamat's constituency now and explained why you took him?
How do you know that voters are cheated in that case? You don't know that
But
either.
They voted for him on a Congress ticket. That's the only proof I have. They voted for him on a Congress ticket.
It might have also been a lot of individual voting. I mean, for example, you look at Mr. Michael Lobo, for example. He won two consistent elections on a BJP ticket, and then he won on a Congress ticket. So a lot of these votes, if you ask me, are for the individual, and in
okay.
lot of
Anshul, your response to that: the vote is for Mr. Digambar Kamat. The vote is for Michael Lobo. Doesn't matter what party he's in. So it's not a fraud on the voters. The voters want this specific politician. They don't mind whichever party he's in. What would you say to that? That's really, that's actually striking at the root of Indian democracy. Then why do you need parties? But anyway, that's what the BJP spokesperson, Mr. Giriraj, is saying. Your response, Anshul?
No, absolutely ridiculous. Not only are you making a mockery of the system of adult franchise, actually majority governments have been completely subverted by the BJP and their kind of underhand politics, to put it very, very mildly. So, but that's one point. But the second point is that we should actually focus on is how on this kind of corrupt kind of politics, governance is actually completely being forsaken. So while we are constantly applauding the 24/7 politics of the BJP, they're so consistent, they're so ruthless, they're so ceaseless in their political gain. They will take power at any cost, and we keep applauding that at the huge cost of democracy. By the way, you see the nature of governance in this country. You see how our economy has been wrecked. You see how social
but I understand your pain. I understand your pain, but who's going to applaud the political losers? You don't get medals for coming last, but having perhaps your heart in the right place.
Please applaud this
This is democracy. This is democracy. More people are voting. They got 20. They got 20 this time. They got 20 this time in the last assembly elections. That's a fact.
You know how we got it? Yeah, look, nobody's denying it. Look, let's not make the connection between electoral victory and a validation of somehow economic or social policies. They're two separate things, right? So we know that the underhand politics of the BJP is playing out. We see it before us. We're applauding it because we think that they're 24/7.
No, I'm
How
not.
great
I'm not.
that
Anshul,
is.
let me
But
clarify here.
let's focus on what
allow me
the
to
huge
clarify.
cost it's coming
Allow me to
about.
clarify. Allow me to clarify. I am not conflating an electoral victory with economic policy. I am questioning your need to be patted on the back for losing, for trying to find some virtue in losing. There is
Absolutely
no
not.
virtue in electoral loss.
No, absolutely not. There is no virtue in electoral loss. It's a matter of great concern. I told you before, there are challenges before the Congress party, which I don't undermine at all at any stage. I mean, because we want to knit the Bharat together, this is not supposed to be a political yatra, because the need of the hour is politics, but beyond that, something else, just to unite people at that level. But it does not mean that Congress is not being mobilized for that purpose. You know, there are multiple things that are happening at the moment at the same time, all of which are not so explicit, right? So we are deeply concerned about this strange, corrupt, this Machiavellian turn our politics and our democracy is taking. It does not bode well at all for the future.
Mr.
And here
Varnekar wants to come
governance
in.
is
Yes,
suffering.
your response. Yes, your response, Mr. Varnekar.
Anshulji, you in Maharashtra in 2019, you were number 4 party, and yet, despite of BJP winning a majority there, we went behind the back and cheated the people and formed the government. We are number 1. We have the absolute mandate to run the government.
Exactly.
And all we have done is taken
exactly
people
what you
who
have
are
done
unhappy
in many
with you.
places where
Stop
the single
blaming-
largest party has not been able to form the government.
BJP, the problem with you is your problem is the Gandhis. Instead of Bharat Jodo, you should do a party.
No, forget about that. Bharat Jodo
But
is
then
getting
let them sort their problem, no? Mr. Varnekar, why are you bothered?
You conveniently forget.
Why are you bothered? They want to do Bharat Jodo. They want the Gandhis at the helm. How does that matter? The question you need to answer today, 1 minute. The question you need to answer today is that don't you have a greater responsibility as the largest political party in India today, Mr. Varnekar? What are your politics? What are your politics?
Again, I mean,
why is every party from Congress to Aam Aadmi Party accusing you of trying to poach their MLAs? Every second day, Mr. Palekar's party has a press conference saying, my MLA was offered 25 crores, 30 crores, 40 crores. The sums are mind-boggling.
Mr. Palekar's party is all about, stand-up comedy and hallucinations. They have not been able to submit even one conversation where somebody has reached out to their MLAs. And I'll give a classic example of how AAP defrauds the people. When Saurabh Bharadwaj gave a presentation on EVMs, he went to the assembly and did it because there is immunity when you speak on the floor of the house. If they have so much of proof, why don't they put it in public domain? And Sisodia or anybody for that matter only claims that they have been approached. So these are theatrics. And, when Amit talks about Team A and Team B, I think they are the 12th men in Goan politics. They have absolutely
Can I get Mr. Palekar's response, please? Can I see Mr. Palekar, please? Yes, Mr. Palekar, your response. You keep saying that they are poaching you. I mean, to be honest, 1 minute. To be honest, if the BJP with all its might wanted to poach your MLAs, looking at their track record of success, wouldn't they have been able to by now?
Certainly not, because there are no skeletons in the closet as far as AAP MLAs are concerned. So they do not fear ED, they do not fear CBI, they do not fear the stooges of the departments which have become stooges of the government. Today they are after every MLA, every leader of Aam Aadmi Party, raiding them day in, day out. Why is that happening? Why there is no raid in Gujarat when there was 24,000 drug halls? Why there are no raids in Gujarat happening when there is excise scams? Why there are no raids in Goa? Every day there is a scam.
Sir, because today you are not a threat. Can I tell you the uncomfortable response to your question? If you have MLAs to be poached, then they will poach them. You have 2 in Gujarat, in Goa. They're not looking at you as a threat in Gujarat. Mr. Varnekar is saying that you're doing stand-up comedy.
We know who the stand-up comedians are, and the problem is that they right now don't have audience. So they want to rake up issue. That's the problem. As far as Goa is concerned, when he says that we never needed a more
raking up issues?
they were sure that there are problems within themselves. We see that often in Goa happening, and that is why they want to make sure to take lessons to their own MLAs in their parties. They wanted more MLAs, and they have the money to buy them. And there is a price tag on every Congress MLA who is ready to and willing to be bought. And that is how they function. They are the killers of democracy as far as Goa is concerned. Goan voters are the losers. Goans have not voted for individuals. They, of course, voted for the party. 67% of Goans voted against BJP. It is just a number game that they got to 20. But the fact remains, today every Goan voter feels cheated. I live in Goa. I know the sentiments of every Goan today. You ask any voter who has voted even for BJP to say that yes, what is happening is right. No one is going to come up and say that what is happening is right. And unfortunately,
Sanjay Jha, Now, Sanjay Jha, I want to come to you on a larger point. With how normalized these switches have become, how the news today of 8 of 11 moving to the BJP from the Congress has become, number one, about the ongoing weaknesses in the Congress party. Then it's become about all of these memes, you know, of Bharat Jodo, ya Congress Chodo or Congress Jodo. But the fact that for voters, they don't know if they vote for a non-BJP party, where that MLA or MP will land up. Yeah. It sort of breaks that trust, doesn't it? I think that's a question we need to ask.
Tamanna, let's bite the bullet here and not kind of dodge the hard truth. We are a work in progress as a democracy. These are manifestations of a banana republic. Let's be very frank about it. You know, this horse trading has become so commonplace that, you know, I had to joke on a show to say, why don't we have an MLA stock exchange and let's start trading people, put a price tag, and let the one with the biggest purse strings walk away with the legislators. Do it. Absolutely. Let's be transparent. I mean, you know, anybody, Tamanna, watching this show, I mean, imagine somebody not exposed to Indian politics. They will wonder, what kind of a country are we? 5 trillion economy and all that sounds so sexy. But what kind of a country are we? I mean, Mr. Giriraj, with due respect to you, you appear to be a very, you know, reasonable man. But, you know, think of the track record of your party, sir. Between 2014 and now, and I was looking at the data, roughly 200 MLAs and MPs from different parties have gone to your place. And, you know,
Sanjay Jha, but Sanjay Jha, people will turn around and say that in the heydays of the Congress, that was exactly what the Congress was doing.
Yeah. Tamanna, I want to tell you something. This whataboutery is really the problem. And you're right. Factually, and you're correct, the Congress rightfully is accused of those misdemeanors. But there is a point at which we need to draw the line in the sand and say, move on. The Congress has paid a price for it politically, by the way. It got knocked out after the emergency. It's lost the last couple of elections. And the BJP cannot keep blaming the emergency for, you know, being authoritarian Congress and to blame Article 356, etc. as history. What are you doing with India's polity today? And I need to tell you very frankly, Tamanna, this Operation Lotus is going to be, in my opinion, the death knell of Indian democracy. Institutions are dead, and the BJP is removing the opposition. You see, what happens when you have an elected autocracy or despotism, you remove the opposition. This is an attempt to say there will be no opposition. So when people write about a single party democracy in India, they're actually not talking through their hat.
What do you make of the Aam Aadmi Party, Sanjay? Because they are saying that, look, the Aam Aadmi Party, they are saying today that, look, we are successfully fending off these Operation Lotus attempts. They have ensured that they've inserted themselves in every public political dialogue vis-a-vis the BJP. They're projecting themselves as the only contenders. What do you make of them?
A quick point here. I think Mr. Palekar is absolutely justified to have some degree of schadenfreude at Congress's discomfiture, because AAP will grow where the Congress becomes weak. If I was AAP, I would wait for the Congress to explode, implode, or whatever. So for them, politically, it's a smart move. But what the AAP needs to recognize that in Delhi and Punjab, you got very big numbers, nobody can break you. But the day you are in opposition and you are a smaller number, trust me, any rival party can indulge in the same games with you. So I think all of us today need to worry about where India is headed as a democracy. And I believe the BJP, and I'm not saying this because I don't agree with them ideologically, or I believe they're, you know, very divisive, etc. I believe the BJP is making a terrible mistake. It's a height of political hubris to take the Indian constitution and democracy for such a brutal railroading. It will have consequences. And I don't want to sound, very prophetic here, but if I know India's opposition, if they come in power, the BJP might get a taste of its own medicine, which is not good for democracy.
No, the only thing I care about is really what is going to happen to voters, our viewers, our voters, and the people of this country. Because we vote people into power because we want to hold them accountable. Not that they can, keep switching parties, make money, not make money, whatever the background is. Are they doing their job? Is what they should really be asking themselves. I'll have to end it here, but I want to thank all of you for joining us on the big story this evening. Let me move on.